Somewhere near the coast, I couldn't reach you when I needed you the most. And that night I got roofy and passed out on the floor.
Ya, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat datang teman-teman kepada dining kedua di 2024 tahun ini. Di dining ini kami akan pemateri kami akan membawakan Morphology and Syntax. Nah, dari survei kemarin banyak nih ya, dari especially angkatan 23 karena ini matkulnya di angkatan 23 sekarang, itu masih banyak yang kebingungan tentang Morphology and Syntax ini. And first of all, I wanted to say that makasih udah menyempatkan waktu kalian untuk datang ke sini dan mari sama-sama belajar morphology and syntax di dining kali ini. Lalu sebelum kita mulai, langkah baiknya kita berdoa sesuai kepercayaan masing-masing. Berdoa dimulai. Ya, doa selesai. Setelah ini saya serahkan kepada pemateri kami yaitu Luka Muhammad Farrel.
Okay, thank you, Acha. As for the CV, will it not be presented?
Oh iya, sebelumnya mohon maaf. Saya akan share CV dulu ini. Sudah terlihat ya? Oke. Nah, pemateri kita ini Luka Muhammad Farrel. He's an undergraduate student on his 5th semester with notable background in organization, leadership, and education. Tentunya di UNJ ya teman-teman. Now let's set that aside for a moment. Kalau kalian mau kontak Luka bisa banget yang menghubungi nomor dan email yang tertera di CV ini. Boleh di SS dulu bila kalian tidak nanti ingin menyimpannya. Lalu untuk soft skills yang dimiliki oleh Luka, ini ada leadership, critical thinking, integrity, meticulous, and willingness to learn. Also, the hard skills he has is public speaking, event organization, language teaching, and Microsoft Office. The language skills he has is native in Bahasa Indonesia and fluent in English. Now, all of his soft skills, hard skills, and language skills are implemented to his organizational experience. Now, you may also know that Luka is a president of the Student Executive Board of LSP UNJ. From 2024 until present, he has evaluated the cabinet's first half performance, supervised 3 annual programs, and more than a dozen of other programs, and planned the cabinet's timeline of programs for the entire administration. He is also a leader of Campus Mengajar Batch 7 team at SMP Puspita Persada from February until June 2024. He participated and led the group in every event organized by the school and the team, presented team proposal and concluding report to the school, and last but not least, contributed in creating team proposal and compiling concluding report. He was also an advocacy staff of the Executive Student Board of LSP UNJ in 2023. He coordinated annual program divisions such as event of LSPG and sponsorships of, and contributed as a staff on annual programs, Baksos, PKMBP, PKMP, and Spora. He disseminated information as a PIC of AdSen and advocated for students. He was also vice president of the English Club of SMN 108 Jakarta, and in 2021, he presented language learning materials to peers and members, planned, organized, and participated in club events. Now we have seen the curriculum vitae of our speaker today, and for the rest, we'll be uh, presented by Luka.
Okay, thank you, Acha. So good afternoon, everyone. I will be speaking in English, so if you have any questions, please um, you can use Indonesian. That's okay. But I will be presenting in English, and if my voice is unclear or if my voice is laggy, please do let me know. Okay. So I'll be sharing my screen. I have prepared a presentation for this session. Is it visible? Yes, I hope so. All right. Good afternoon. We will be discussing morphology and syntax, which I have compiled. My main reference is the mind map made by Mr. Ivan, right? As my lecturer last year, not last year. Yes, last year. Okay, so here is a table of content. We will discuss both morphology and syntax. In morphology, we have for word structure and word formation. In syntax, we will discuss about grammaticality, phrase structure, clause structure, and ambiguity. Right. So morphology. In morphology, we talk about a word, right? We learn about how words are formed, and therefore we learn about word structure. We first begin with word differentiation. I'm pretty sure you have heard of parts of speech or word classes: noun, adjective, verb, adverb, conjunction, preposition, determiner, and pronoun. I group these because I want to demonstrate how it is different on the basis of functionality and lexical category. Right. So as you can see, noun until adverb are both contents. Right. What are content words? Content words are words that have meaning. They have attached meaning. That they have a lexical meaning in a sentence. Let's say I want to eat. Right. The words that have meaning are want and eat. Right. However, int works as a function. It connects the content words. It adds meaning to the content words, but in itself, it doesn't really have any meaning. Right? If you say am, like as in I am, you say am without any context, there would not be any meaning to it. Yes, and that is functionality. So we have content and function. The content words have meaning. Function words, they they just function as a part of the grammar of the sentence. And then we have the lexical category. What does it mean by lexical category? Lexical category means how the class of words are open. Let's say noun, right? What does it mean to be open, right? You can use any or you can create any name and that will count as a noun phrase. And therefore, noun is open. But for conjunction, you can't really add so a conjunction is because, right? Because, then, etc. You can't really add any more words. Although for pronouns, it's fairly debatable because as of now there are neopronouns, but we will not discuss about that. So that is the open and closed, because in closed you can't add into preposition. You can't think. I don't think you can add prepositions such as to, by, on, etc. You don't really do that, and that's why it's considered to be a closed word class. Right. So with this table, I hope you can understand the word classes, its functionality, and the lexical category. Next is that we have from the word differentiation. Now we have words. Yes, words. There are two kinds of words. There are free form and non-free form. Free form words are divided into three, which will be explained in the figure in the next slide. So the root word is the very core of the word. Let's say we can see the word modified, right? right? The word modified has two morphemes, but we haven't discussed about morphemes. So yes, root the root for the word is modified, and modified is modify because it is attached with ed, right? Like when you when you use the word I cook, the cook word is a root. It can be attached with other thing, right? I cook, or you can use she cooks, they cooked, etc. As for the stem, stems are roots that has been modified. Roots that have been modified, such as the word cooker, right? From the word cook to cooker, that cooker has been modified. And both of these are base. So base explains that those words can be attached. If it cannot be attached, it it no longer is a base. It I will explain it with a more graphical explanation in the next slide. But now we'll talk about the non-free form first, or affixes. There is a prefix. I'm sure you have known. In Indonesian, it's imbuhan, imbuhan di depan, and suffix imbuhan di belakang. And in Indonesian, we have circumfix, which is uh, an affix is that circles a word. Let's say the word kebahasaan. There is ke and an, and they both work as an affix, as a single affix, and that is why it's called circumfix. But it is not within the English language, so no. Okay, so this is the example. Right, we have sorcery, er and s. This is a more morphemic analysis, kind of. But let's see from the word point of view. We have sorcery. Sorcery is the root word. Er and sorcery becomes a stem because it has been modified. And both of these are also base because they can both be modified with s. But with the additional s, the word sorcerers, you can't really add more onto it. So that is why the word sorcerers is not a base because it can no longer be edited. It can no longer be modified. Right. Also, in sorcery, it is a free morpheme, which will be explained later, and we will talk about the suffixes. Er and s are both suffixes. It is at the end of a base. Okay, it will be a long ride because we will talk about morpheme. Morpheme are the smallest amount of of word. It is the smallest scale of linguistic element that still has meaning. Right. Let's say the affix s. S here works as um, a statement of plural, and that is why although on its own it doesn't really mean anything, but when attached to a word it adds meaning that it's a plural, and that is why it's also a morpheme. And there are two kinds of morpheme. There is a free morpheme, or the words. So this sorcery, a run, a bath, etc. They are free morphemes. As for the bound morphemes, it's mostly affixes. We have inflectional and derivational, which has been explained again here. So inflectional is bound morphemes that don't change the meaning of the word. So inflectional, for example, is the s, right? It doesn't change the word. It doesn't change the meaning. It just adds that there is more than one. As for the word sorcerer with s, it just adds the information that it is plural. Right? Whereas derivational morpheme are the bound morphemes that change the class of the word, such as sorcery to sorcerer. Sorcery is a noun, but sorcerer is the doer, right? And that is a derivational morpheme. That is quite that you might think that it is complicated. Yes, it is. So Let's think about ness and happiness. The morpheme ness in happiness is a derivational morpheme because it changes happy from adjective to a noun. Happiness, adjective to noun, and that is why it is a derivational morpheme. Yes. Okay. Next is morphs. Morphs aren't really that important, but morphs are the realization of morphemes. Right. So I have exemplified here. So from the morpheme as I said, it is also morpheme as in cats and as in bees, vary in the pronunciation. Same goes for ed in or the past participle. In equipped, it sounds like a T, equipped. In packed, it sounds like a D, packed. And in exploded, it sounds like id, exploded. That is why ed also varies in pronunciation. As for the negative morpheme, we have variations in form: injustice, irregular, impossible, unethical, etc. We have also um, an example here for noun modifier, right? Such as proficient, provide with Asian becomes provision, donate plus ion becomes donation, and compete plus Asian becomes competition. And these are morphs because they are realized in morphemes in both a written and spoken form. So they're just variants, and they can be in those two, or in here we can say it's both pronunciation and form. Yes, and this is a very technical thing. In morphological realization rules, we have four aspects. So the first one is agglutinative, where two morphemes are realized by the morphs that are glued, right? So basically, it's one, and the other just explains. So here, the morph that remain distinct is the book, while the plural is s. They're just glued together, and there's nothing special about it. As for the fusional, they combine, but they do not have any distinction left, such as from alumnus to alumni. The word alumnus changes. It's not alumnuses, it's alumni, and therefore neither remain distinct, but they are fused. Whereas null, they are not realized in any of the morph, right? It's not realized in the morphemical analysis, such as the singular. Let's say you have I have, or let's say the word is cat. Cat is cat and singular. There are two morphemes. And lastly is zero. Zero here means that although it is there, it's not represented, such as sheep. There is no ships. It's only sheep and fish. There are no fishes. It's only fish and plural. So it's not written, and it's not written, and although it's there, right? Such as yeah, information is also like that. It's very technical, and I'm sure this answers your scenes, right? I don't do scenes. Okay, so the next one from word structure is word formation. We have a lot of them. We have blending, reduplication, conversion, shortening, derivation, compounding, onomatopoeia, and backformation. So first, blending. Blending is, as you guessed, blending two words together. In attributive, one becomes the elaboration of the other. Coordinate means they both have meaning. So in attributive, blending, we have this example here, which is motor and bicycle, where the motor explains the bicycle that the bicycle is run by a by an engine, whereas in coordinate we have motor and hotel, where both contribute meaning. Okay, so next one is reduplication. You've seen this many times. So in a word because we're talking about morphology. In words, exactly, there are so so, bad bad, never never, never never, and a lot more. And in the phrasal level, you might have heard of for real, for real. That is reduplication in exactly, it is exact reduplication, for real, for real. Or yeah, bad bad, good good, like it's good good. It's an exact reduplication. Whereas in a blot, there is a change in the vowel, zigzag, ping pong, and we have other things that zigzaga, right? You have those things that are a blot. A blot means the vowel changes and it's still the reduplication or the repeatance of words. Lastly is rhyme. Rhyme here, as for the ending, it makes sense, but the first part, like razzle and da, ra and da, it both ends with zol. Razzle dazzle, easy peasy, lemon squeezy, and we have boogie woogie. You have a lot of. I'm pretty sure we have seen a lot of those, and those are blending and reduplication. 2 out of 8. Next is conversion, which is pretty easy because you can find those uh, easily by searching your vocabulary, right? So conversion is a word formation by changing the class of the word. You have run, as in I am running, and you have run, there run, or speed run, as a noun. You also have cut. You have I am cutting a grass, nice cut. You have a lot of words that can be converted from verbs to nouns and vice versa, I think. Next one is shortening. It's one of the most popular word formation because yes, there are a lot of types also, but it's used to simplify things. Let's say you want to say Instagram, instead of saying Instagram, you can use Insta or IG, whatever you call it, but it is all a part of shortening. In shortening, there is clipping, acronym, and initialism. Clipping is where you clip or you circumcise a word, right? Such as in the for clipping, we have from telephone to phone, microphone to mic. For clipping means you circumcise or you cut the first part of the word, and hin clipping is the opposite. You cut the latter part of the word. Next is acronym. So in acronym, you use initials, and the initials can be pronounced as a word such as laser. You have NASA, a NASA, and there are a lot of other insting institutional acronyms such as UNESCO, UEFA, and other things. Whereas in initialism, we have shortening by pronouncing its initials, like e.g., NFL, NBA, NHL, not FIFA. FIFA is an acronym. Initialism, such as IG, WA, TWT, etc. Those are initialism and not acronyms. Acronyms are the ones that can be pronounced. Okay, right. The next one is derivations. Derivation is by adding affixes. It's not that special. It's just what we have learned. Morpheme plus other morphemes, and voila, it becomes a new word through derivation, such as pretest, which is an indication of it, of before, and test the noun, and it becomes pretest. Compounding is basically combining two roots, two nouns: lipstick, headphones, head and phones, headset, no, not headset, earphones, etc. It's very common too, and there are compounds that have stripes. That have hyphenation, such as flip-flops. It's a compound noun, but it's combined with a stripe, right? With a hyphenation, with a hyphen. Last, not last, before last, we have onomatopoeia, which is word formation by imitating natural sounds. We have buzz, we have clink, we have heard, thwomp, etc. Those are onomatopoeia. You see those a lot in comics. And lastly is back formation. Back formation is the opposite of derivation. It's removing a pre-existing affix. So this has to do a lot with etymology, with how the word is first found and used, not with just with just morphemical analysis. You have to look through the history of the word itself to do a back formation. Okay, that concludes the first chapter of our discussion. We have learned a lot here, and we can go back anytime. And I will share the PPT link later. The presentation link, sorry, not the PPT, that is to Indonesian, such as initialism. We have now reached the point of syntax. So morphology is the study of how words are formed. Syntax are how sentences are formed. It's a higher tier than morphology in the donut, or no, in the globe of linguistics. Yes, so first of all, in syntax, we will talk about grammaticality, and the definition for that is the conformity of a sentence to the rules defined by a specific grammar of a language. Basically, whether it's okay to the language or not, where it's based on this speaker's grammatical knowledge and the context of the sentence. So, when you want to look at the grammaticality of the sentence, you have to have grammatical knowledge and the context of the sentence, and it is not based on the whether the speaker has heard of it or not, and the meaningfulness of the sentence. So let's say uh, the sentence, I want to eat a box of tissue. It's not meaningful, but grammatically it's grammatical. And lastly, the truth of the sentence, I want to eat a box of tissue, is not the truth, but it is grammatical. So yes, the base of grammaticality is the grammatical knowledge of the speaker and the context, not meaningfulness, not truth, and whether the speaker has heard of it or not. Yes, the next one is something that is very conceptual, that is generative grammar, where generative grammar means the grammar follows the rule. And here we have phrase structure rules. It is a rule to rewrite and break down a sentence into constituents. Constituents. What are constituents? Constituents are, as I can't really give a definition, but you can see what constituents are. It's the easiest to understand. So constituents are the most identifiable part of the sentence. Say you can use this phrase or this sentence, the cat ate the tuna. You can easily identify the cat is a noun and ate the tuna is the verb, and that is a constituent. That is those are constituents, whereas ultimate constituents are each word. But in immediate constituents are how you can identify parts of a sentence easily, because as mentioned, you have grammatical knowledge, right? And there are phrases that you have learned, and there are noun phrases, verb phrases, and clauses. You have learned all of those, so you can analyze a constituent easily from a sentence. Right, so constituent analysis is a method to break down and analyze the structure of sentences through constituents. These are the steps you can identify the constituents, divide them, draw a tree, then labeling. So in this example here, identifying the constituents means you find the constituents. The cat and ate the tuna. Those are the immediate constituents, which matters. Ultimate constituents doesn't really do anything in constituent analysis, so this is the main constituent. This is a noun phrase, and this is a verb phrase. And then you draw a tree diagram. As I have exemplified here, draw a tree diagram and label them. The here is a determiner, cat is a noun, ate is a verb, the is a determiner again, and tuna is a noun. So those are the steps of identifying constituents or constituent analysis. So phrase structure rules is a rule to rewrite and break down a sentence into constituents, into these two. And that is phrase structure rules. And next one, here we have another rule, which is transformation rule, which is to reproduce a new sentence through literary devices such as negation, passivization, etc., where in the sentence in its original form is a deep structure and its alternatives are a surface structure, because the deep structure is the original idea or is the unified idea, whereas surface structure are just variations and it's surface level. It can be modified and etc. And in the end, it only means one thing. As I have exemplified, the deep structure or the original sentence is I killed him, and you can use other words. You can use passivization, etc., and it will not change the deep structure, which is that I killed him. That is transformation rules. It is to basically avoid using the same sentence, such as when you paraphrase a thing, that could count as transformation rules. Or when you infer something, that also counts as transformation rule. And those two are within the generative grammar. Next, we have phrases, adjectives, we have phrases and clauses. We are nearing the end, so phrases, or here we want to talk about phrase expansion, right? So in the noun, let's say you have this word boy, right? If you want to make it more detailed, you can add that boy blah 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 blah, and that is phrasal expansion rule. There are a lot of rules, but basically phrasal expansion rule is one that you add details into the phrase, into the noun or adjective or verb, whatever your focus is. It's adding words to further elaborate, but don't get too far from the point. Say you want to say that boy is handsome. You don't go out of your way to say that his parents are rich, etc. You can just say that that boy is handsome because he wears good clothes. He has blah blah blah. You don't go out of your way to add something out of context. And that is phrasal expansion rule. Next one is clauses. So in syntax, we have clauses. There are common uh, clause structure or sentence structure. First is subject and predicate. Predicates are verbs. It has to be verbs, and subjects can, I think, are nouns. Subjects has to be noun or noun phrase. So here, he is a noun and a subject, and wept is the predicate. And SPO, O is object, A is adverb, and SPOA, etc. You have learned this in elementary school, right? You have learned this in elementary school. So what matters is the other clause structure which is a lot. There are five. No, there are four types of other clause structure. First one is fronting. So fronting is a clause structure where the subject is preceded or something is behind the subject or before the subject. So for example is object, right? The object is in front of the subject. From I have made a decision to a decision I have made. A decision here is of an object, I is the subject, and have made is the predicate. Adjective, you can also do that with adjective, adverbial, etc. There are a lot of ways to do that, but fronting is basically when you put something before the subject. Next one is inversion. So inversion is where, as you guessed it, the formation is inverted. We have a lot of types of inversion. So the first one is question. You've learned this in elementary school. So he was late into was he late? And negative, right? You have I have never seen such a dogshit presidency into never have I seen such a dogshit presidency. Next is conditional. So in conditional, you invert the sentence into were it easy, I would not have come asking for help from if it were easy, I would not have come asking for help. These clause structures are used to emphasize on a point. And then we have not for a moment, here and there, here comes the sun, and so on and so forth. So there is so happy was I. No, under no circumstance. And we have only after scrolling, etc. You can use these things as a way to emphasize your point in, let's say, your narrative essay, in your writing, in expressing your feelings, etc. You can use this also to run away from your sins. You can use this to not feel guilty, such as through the use of passivization. Yes, so these are inversion. And now we have dislocation. So dislocation is where a noun phrase, which is at the beginning or at the end of the sentence, is separated by a punctuation to show that it is not a part of the main sentence structure. So it is just a fun fact, right? So from this sentence, my friend has a house and is sleeping over. That is a sentence, that is a full sentence. And to shorten it, you can use my friend who has a house is sleeping over because who has a house here is not important and can be treated as a fun fact. So the main point of of the second sentence is that my friend is sleeping over who has a house here is just a fun fact. And that is this location. And last one is clefting. So clefting is cleaving a sentence. Again, to emphasize on a point. These are all used to emphasize on a point. So cleaving here means you're cutting and rearranging the structure according to what you want to be, what the focus or emphasis of your sentence would be. So for example is that I went to Hawaii last week. If you want to focus on the why, you can use it was Hawaii that I visited last week, or it was last week that I visited Hawaii. You can use clefting to focus on a point. And lastly, ambiguity. So we have learned of constituent analysis. Ambiguity wouldn't be a problem for us because in this structural ambiguity, we have his distant relatives, right? Which could mean that they are unfamiliar or they live far away. Both are valid, but in the meaning, in the broader meaning, you can always look at the context of the sentence. this sentence would not make sense to analyze because it doesn't have any other context. So that is structural ambiguity. Whereas in lexical ambiguity, we have word, phrase, and clause, such as in the word level ambiguity. I collect bats. Bats could bat could mean two things, right? Bats as in the animal, and bat as in the thing you use to hit people or balls, whichever you hit. As in the phrase, you can use that. You can see that there is a match here. A match could mean that she is looking for something to light something on fire, or a match as in she wants a date. Lastly, is on the clause level. So he saw his daughter wearing his suit. His wearing his suit here could mean that he was wearing his suit or his daughter was wearing his suit. And why is it a clause? Because this clause has been reduced. There should be a while here before wearing his suit, and that is why it is a clause. And the ambiguity is at the clause level. So yeah, that was all. It has been more than 30 minutes last since I started. So these are the links to the PPT if you'd like to see more, or if you'd like to ask something, but it has been skipped. I think that is all. Will there? Yes. Okay. So I think I can. Acha, can I turn off my screen sharing for the session?
Now you may still share screen PowerPoint, or you may pause it as we're moving to the next session, is question and answer. Now, if there's any of you who want to ask question, kalau ada yang bertanya, silakan bertanya ya.
Yes. Thank you, Acha. Again,
Now, while we wait, ada pertanyaan nih, Kak Luka.
yes.
Nah, kan tadi udah jelasin base, root, and stem. I want to ask you, can a base function has a root and a stem?
Sorry.
Can a base function both root and stem? Jadi dia bisa bekerja sebagai itu, jadi root or and stem. Is it possible or not?
It is possible. Yes, as I have elaborated here in this graphic. Yes, the sorcery here is both root. No, it's all three forms of root, stem, and base because it's root, because it is the minimal amount of word. Stem, because it can. Wait, not it's not a stem. So root here. So sorry. Let me retract my answer. A root cannot be a stem, but both can be base. Because a stem is a root that has been attached with a modifier. Does that answer your question, Acha?
Yes, for the explanation, Luka. Ada yang mau nanya dan emang lagi nggak bisa on mic, boleh lewat chat ya teman-teman.
Yes, and as for the anak-anak 23, kalau mau nanya spesifik scene juga nggak apa-apa. We will be bowling.
Betul juga teman, kan kalian nih di sini yang belum selesai atau emang kesusahan di satu boleh banget ditanya sekarang, karena ini emang kesempatan kalian untuk tanya ke mumpung topiknya tentang morphology and syntax. Jadi silahkan aja ya teman. if you have any assignment isn't done or confused about stuff, go on and ask. Ya, ada yang mau bertanya ya, tapi mungkin kalian ada yang mau langsung lewat apa namanya lewat di CV lewat nomor reka langsung chat langsung atau lewat email ya, kalau enggak yang sudah di tadi di CV juga boleh. Baik, jadi untuk ini saya cukup dulu. Terima kasih Kak sudah memaparkan materinya. Makasih teman-teman pada hadir ke dining kedua tahun 2024 ini yang bertemakan dengan Morphology and Syntax, dan juga Kak Luka sudah materinya dan yang menjelaskannya semuanya ke teman-teman di sini. Dan for the next kita bakal ketemu lagi di selanjutnya. Lalu saya cukupkan acara hari ini. Terima kasih ya sudah hadir. Goodbye guys. See you on the next dining.
Bye-bye. Thank you,
Thank
Aca.
you, Aca. Thank you, Luka.
Thank
Terima
you
kasih
everyone.
Kak Aca, terima kasih Kak Luka.
Makasih Kak Aca, makasih Kak Luka.
Thank you.